Hello and welcome to our podcast series, Conversations with KidsPeace. I'm Bob Martin. There is a popular party game that you may have heard of. It's called Cards Against Humanity. I've played it. It's snarky, it's sarcastic, sometimes it can be wildly inappropriate, and it can be fun to play with your friends, depending on your friends. What we're going to talk about today also involves cards, but it's a much different kind of story. It's the kind of story that as we commemorate and celebrate Independence Day 2020 amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges and divisions that seem to be roiling our society each day, reminds us that more often than not, the things that unite us are more powerful and meaningful than those that divide us. So let's call it Cards Connecting Humanity. And to help us tell that story, we're very pleased to have with us Stephanie Kearns. Stephanie is the Director of Recreational Therapies and Enrichment Services in the Pennsylvania Residential Treatment Programs at KidsPeace's Orchard Hills campus in Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. Stephanie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm so glad that you're able to join us here. So, to set the stage for the story we're going to tell, I wonder if you can start by just briefly explaining the work that your team, the community living team at the residential programs do.
So here, our community living team really focuses on teaching our kids life skills that will be applicable to them in the community. We also really work on trying to teach them ways that will help them reacclimate to the community once they come out of residential treatment. With that, there are 5 domains that we really kind of operate under. And one of those domains that I think really kind of applies that we have been working on is relationships and communication. So that's kind of a big one right now.
And of course, in light of COVID-19, a lot of changes and everything.
Yes.
You had a suggestion brought to you about an idea to connect our kids with folks that are in local nursing homes. What was that idea? How did it come about, and why did it appeal to you to do that?
So the idea was brought to us by one of our VPs, Ann McCauley, who then I believe brought it to our executive director, Jill Shaler. And when they brought the idea to us, we really kind of, I think, just grasped onto that because our kids have been struggling with the COVID-19 pandemic. The feeling of kind of being disconnected, I think, from the community, from their families, from their friends. I think that's been really difficult for a lot of our youth that we work with. And so we thought this would be a really great idea for them to feel as though they're having some sort of connection outside of our walls here.
And so the idea is that they would create cards, greeting cards, and then those would be shared with residents in local nursing homes.
Yes.
When you brought this to the kids, were you surprised at the response you got?
Actually, yeah, I kind of was. I figured that we would have kind of a mixed response. And to some degree, I think there was slightly, but it was really more because they weren't sure about how to go about something like that. And so once we kind of talked to them about how, the individuals in the nursing homes are, what they're going through and what they're experiencing, our kids really kind of hung on to that and really loved the idea and decided to kind of take it and run with it and really kind of made it their own. It was neat.
And the cards they produced, and we have some photos, we're going to show the pictures on our podcast video as we talk here. But the cards were handmade by the children in the program. Some of the messaging, as you read it, seems very personal. Do you think the kids recognize the connection between their situation? They're in residential treatment. They're in our campus. It's under lockdown. No visitors, no family, and the similar situation that the nursing home residents were dealing with as well.
Yeah, definitely. That I was really impressed actually by the way that our kids here were able to make that connection. And, it's hard because a lot of our kids do come from a background of trauma, which with having a background of trauma can make it really difficult for others to reconnect with people and to establish relationships and to have some empathy. But the way that they were able to connect those dots and the way that they were able to see the bigger picture, and want to have that impact on somebody else was really remarkable. I was personally really touched by several of the messages. I mean, we saw everything from, very heartfelt, we're in this together. I know what it's like to not be able to see your family and friends right now. You're going to get through this. We're here for you. We care about you. I mean, just really very special messages that were from the heart.
They really were. They're very emotional. I'll tell you this. I teared up a couple of times as well. Before we talk about the bigger picture, I have to ask you about one of the things I thought was really great were the ones with the jokes. Can you explain what was going on there?
Yeah. So our kids obviously here, they are constantly learning new ways to kind of cope and adapt and deal with stressful situations. And some of our kids really value humor and really like how humor can reduce stress and make somebody's day. And we've done a lot to try to help them understand how just the impact of smiling, how that can really impact your overall kind of feelings and mental health, even in the moment. And so a lot of them, when they maybe weren't sure what else to say, they tried to find a way to make them smile. So they thought, well, let me tell them a joke. Let me try to diffuse the situation a little bit. Let me see if I can get them to laugh so they're not so scared and stressed out, or, and that's kind of, I think, where a lot of the kids were coming from. The jokes were silly. There were some knock jokes. There were some just kind of those kind of silly old dad jokes that you kind of call them. They were cute. They were really neat. And there was actually, and speaking of kind of some of the coping skills too, one of the cards I had to comment on too, I thought was really neat. The individual who wrote the card actually listed out a whole bunch of different coping skills for the resident to be able to try if they were feeling anxious or nervous or scared with all of that's going on. And I was really impressed with that, because I thought that, wow, this individual really took everything that they've been being taught here, learning, and is now not only demonstrating it themselves, but now trying to teach somebody else how to get through a tough situation. So I just thought that was really cool.
It's one of those things, I think parents and teachers alike have that unique experience when they say, oh my gosh, you really were listening, weren't you?
Yes.
Can you share a couple other messages that the cards had?
Sure. I think there was a few that we had that I tried to get here. So these are kind of some of the shorter messages, but still very, very sweet. This one was just some advice from one of our really young kiddos here. Was said, don't get COVID-19, eat your food and take your meds. Another one we have here was, I hope you have a good day. Be kind. Being kind gets you everywhere. And then another one, these were all kind of from some of our younger ones. They didn't have kind of as big of a presentation. And so this one said, don't get the coronas, stay safe. So these are some of the smaller messages, but a lot of the ones that were sent were very, very, very heartfelt, very inspiring, very uplifting, very positive. And that was the constant theme that we saw, was just, stay strong. We're going to get through it again. And, one of the ones, I remember another card that one of our kiddos made, one of our younger guys, and his card was actually, to be honest, he actually made a few. Several of our kids actually made multiple cards, because they they wanted to have a bigger impact. They wanted to make more than just for one person, which I thought was really cool too. But the message in one of the cards was really just about connecting to some of that loneliness that they can feel. And it was just so apparent how much even our kiddos are looking for that connection, and how they could recognize that, you know, the individuals in the nursing home were also looking for that connection and probably missing that from their families. So it's a big piece of the messages that they received.
In the bigger term about the progress we're hoping that the kids see, what do you think they're going to take away from this experience, this sharing of this connection with the nursing home residents?
Well, I guess I hope that they take away, and I think what they've taken away from this is that despite, you know, them being strangers, despite the significant age difference for, you know, our residents and the nursing home residents, they were able to find how they had similar shared, you know, COVID-19 experiences, and how, you know, just having a shared experience can bring people together and make people feel less alone. I think I'm hoping that they've gotten that message. I think that they have. They've asked if they've received the cards, so they've followed up with us because they want to know. And you know, I also hope that from this that they take away the bigger picture, that the world is a big, you know, is a big place, and there are so many people that they're dealing and struggling in their own ways, and that, you know, the value of, you know, just altruism and volunteerism is there. And I'm hoping that when they leave here, that they take this value with them, and that, you know, they continue to volunteer in their communities, you know, serving at soup kitchens, visiting nursing homes, volunteering at the local animal shelters. I think that's kind of what I'm hoping that they take away with them.
Is there something you think of that you and your team are going to take away from having gone through this exercise with the kids?
Yeah, I think for me, and my team, I think we were kind of really blown away by the selflessness in their act. They weren't expecting anything in return by doing this, and they had the option to not do this. And the fact that so many decided that they wanted to do this, that they genuinely wanted to do this, that they cared so much more than I think what people tend to give them credit for. And I think that piece, I don't want that piece to get lost on anybody, is, you know, that basic human component that our kids will never lose, that they have that they genuinely want that connection with others. And I just think that was such a great reminder for us and a great refresher for us. Just that piece of things is how selfless they really can be and how big their hearts actually are.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Stephanie, we usually ask our guests for a life hack. This could be one of their favorite sayings or a piece of advice they want to share. I wonder, though, this time, could I ask you to share a sentiment of hope and inspiration that one of the kids put into the cards?
Yeah, see, there was a few. I think that I would probably go with the notion that we're going to get through this together, that you're not alone, that there are other people out there that are caring for you. There are strangers out there that are caring about you and hoping for the best for people. And that this pandemic has been just so difficult for everybody, but that we are in this together and we will get through it together. And that was a big message through most of the cards. And I couldn't agree more.
It is a great message to keep in mind for all of us. Stephanie Kearns is Director of Recreational Therapies and Enrichment Services in the Pennsylvania Residential Treatment Programs at KidsPeace's Orchard Hills campus. Stephanie, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us as well. We look forward to having you join us again for more conversations with KidsPeace. Until then, be safe, be healthy, and take care.